For thousands of years, humanity had been like a child in a vast and empty playground. They looked up at the stars, wondering if anyone else was out there. Were they truly alone? Or were there others, watching from afar, just as curious about Earth as Earth was about them? These questions haunted scientists, philosophers, and dreamers for centuries. Yet no matter how hard humans tried to reach out, sending radio signals into space, launching golden records on spacecraft, or even beaming mathematical codes into the void, the universe remained silent. By the year 2147, this silence wasn't seen as mysterious anymore. It felt more like an unspoken truth. Humanity had come to accept that maybe, just maybe, they were alone after all. But life went on. People built cities that reached the skies, created machines smarter than any human brain, and explored every corner of their planet. Still, deep down, some part of humanity refused to give up hope. Somewhere, somehow, someone, or something, was waiting to respond. In the small town of New Haven, nestled between green hills and endless fields, Dr. Alara Voss spent most of her days in a quiet laboratory. She wasn't searching for aliens like so many before her. Instead, she studied Earth itself. Her work focused on understanding ecosystems using advanced quantum computers. These machines could simulate complex patterns, helping her predict changes in weather, animal behavior, and even plant growth. It was important work, but it kept her isolated from the rest of the world. Most people didn't understand what she did, and she preferred it that way. One evening, while running simulations for climate stabilization, something strange happened. Alara noticed a blip, a tiny anomaly hidden within the data. At first, she thought it was just interference like static on an old TV screen. Scientists often encountered such glitches and they usually ignored them. But this one was different. Over the next few days, the same pattern repeated itself. It wasn't random noise, it was structured, almost like a rhythm. Curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to investigate further. Alara pulled up the raw data on her computer screen. Lines of numbers scrolled past, each representing faint signals picked up by satellites orbiting Earth. She zoomed in on the anomaly, isolating it from the surrounding noise. What she saw made her heart race. The pattern wasn't natural, it was too precise, too deliberate. Could it be? No, she told herself. Don't jump to conclusions. There must be a logical explanation. Determined to find answers, Alara reached out to Dr. Isaac Chen, a linguist known for his work deciphering ancient languages. Isaac had once cracked the code of a long-lost civilization's writing system, earning him fame in academic circles. When Alara showed him the data, his eyes widened with excitement. "This isn't just random static," he said. "It's a sequence. Look at the repetition, it's almost like syntax." Together, Alara and Isaac began analyzing the signal. They worked late into the night, piecing together fragments of information. Slowly, a picture started to emerge. The signal wasn't just a series of numbers, it was a language. Not a human language, of course, but something far more complex. Its structure suggested intelligence, not the kind found on Earth, but something alien, otherworldly. Word of their discovery spread quickly. Within weeks, scientists from around the globe flocked to New Haven, eager to see the evidence for themselves. Debates erupted in universities' research labs and online forums. Was this proof of extraterrestrial life, or was it merely a natural phenomenon mimicking intelligent design? Skeptics argued that the signal could have originated from pulsars, quasars, or some other cosmic event. Believers, however, clung to the idea that humanity had finally received a message from the stars. Public interest skyrocketed. News outlets covered the story nonstop, speculating about what the signal might mean. Some religious groups claimed it was a sign from God, while conspiracy theorists whispered about secret government experiments. Social media buzzed with theories, ranging from plausible to absurd. Amidst the chaos, Alara struggled to stay focused. She knew they needed concrete evidence before jumping to conclusions. Until then, speculation would only fuel confusion. As weeks turned into months, Ilara and Isaac continued their work. They collaborated with experts in cryptography, physics, and even philosophy, trying to decode the message. Each breakthrough brought new questions. For instance, why had the signal appeared now after centuries of silence? And who or what had sent it? Then one day they discovered something astonishing. Buried within the language was a set of instructions, detailed blueprints for constructing a device unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The diagrams were intricate, showing components that defied current scientific understanding. According to the plans, the device could generate energy from principles unknown to modern physics. It seemed impossible, yet the math checked out. Ilara stared at the designs, her mind racing. Was this a gift? A test? Or perhaps a trap? Whoever had sent the signal clearly possessed technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. If humanity followed the instructions, what would happen next? Would they unlock unimaginable power, or unleash destruction upon themselves? Her thoughts returned to the bigger question: why now? After centuries of silence, why had the universe chosen this moment to speak? Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was being watched, not in a creepy, invasive way, but in a patient, observational manner. Like parents keeping an eye on a toddler learning to walk. Maybe the signal wasn't just a message, maybe it was an invitation, but invitations came with responsibilities. Building the device would require resources, cooperation, and trust, things humanity often lacked. Governments were already arguing over jurisdiction. Corporations wanted to patent the technology. Environmentalists warned against tampering with forces beyond comprehension. Meanwhile, ordinary people wondered if humanity was ready for such a leap. Ilara found herself caught in the middle of it all. As one of the key figures behind the discovery, she was thrust into the spotlight. Reporters hounded her for interviews, politicians sought her advice, and activists demanded she take a stand. But she didn't want fame or influence. All she wanted was clarity. Was this really happening? Was humanity finally stepping onto the stage of galactic history? Late one night, as she sat alone in her lab, Ilara gazed out the window at the starry sky. The stars seemed brighter tonight, almost as if they were watching her. She thought about the generations of scientists who had dreamed of this moment, the ones who had listened for decades without hearing a word. Now, here she was, holding the key to humanity's greatest mystery. It was thrilling, terrifying, and humbling all at once. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The discovery of the alien signal sent shockwaves through humanity. What had once been a quiet scientific pursuit in the small town of New Haven quickly became a global phenomenon. News outlets couldn't stop talking about it, and debates raged everywhere, from classrooms to coffee shops to government chambers. Was this really proof of intelligent life beyond Earth? Or was it some elaborate hoax or misinterpretation of natural phenomena? The world was divided, but one thing was clear: humanity could no longer ignore the possibility that they were not alone. Governments around the globe scrambled to respond. Within days, an emergency summit was called at the United Nations headquarters in Geneva. Leaders from every nation gathered to discuss what to do next. Some argued for immediate action, decode the message fully and build the device described in the blueprints. Others urged caution, warning that rushing into something so unknown could have catastrophic consequences. Tensions ran high as countries, with competing interests, clashed over how to proceed. Amidst the chaos, Ilara Voss and Isaac Chen found themselves thrust into the spotlight. Once obscure scientists working in relative obscurity, they were now international figures. Reporters camped outside their lab in New Haven, eager for updates. Politicians sought their advice, while conspiracy theorists accused them of hiding secrets. Despite the pressure, Ilara remained focused on the task at hand. She knew that whatever decision humanity made, it would shape the future forever. To address the growing complexity of the situation, a coalition of nations formed under the banner of the Global Response Initiative, GRI. This organization brought together experts from various fields, scientists, engineers, linguists, ethicists, and even philosophers, to study the signal and determine the best course of action. Ilara and Isaac were appointed as lead advisors, given their role in uncovering the anomaly. Their job was to guide the GRI through the decoding process and help interpret the instructions embedded in the alien transmission. As work progressed, the team faced numerous challenges. The signal contained layers of information, each more intricate than the last. Decoding it required combining knowledge from multiple disciplines. Cryptographers worked tirelessly to unravel its structure, while physicists tried to understand the physics behind the energy-generating device described in the blueprints. Linguists like Isaac attempted to translate fragments of the message into human terms, though much of it remained incomprehensible. Despite these hurdles, progress was steady. Slowly but surely, the team pieced together the purpose of the device. According to the instructions, it was designed to generate energy using principles far beyond humanity's current understanding. Unlike fossil fuels or nuclear reactors, this technology promised unlimited power without harming the environment. If successful, it could solve Earth's energy crisis overnight. But there was a catch. Building the device required materials and techniques that didn't exist yet. Humanity would need to innovate rapidly to meet the demands of the blueprint. Public opinion about the discovery was deeply polarized. On one side were the optimists, those who saw the signal as a gift from benevolent extraterrestrials. They believed that following the instructions would usher in a new era of peace and prosperity. "This is our chance to evolve," said Dr. Maria Lopez, a prominent astrophysicist and member of the GRI. "If we succeed, we'll prove ourselves worthy of joining a galactic community." On the other side were the skeptics and fearmongers. Many worried that the device might be dangerous, a Trojan horse disguised as a gift. Religious groups viewed it as a challenge to divine authority, while environmental activists feared tampering with forces humanity didn't fully understand. Conspiracy theories flourished online, ranging from claims that the signal was a hoax orchestrated by governments to rumors that aliens intended to invade Earth. Protests erupted worldwide. In major cities, crowds gathered to voice their concerns. Some demonstrators carried signs reading "Don't play God" or "Save our planet from alien tech." Others demanded transparency, accusing the GRI of withholding critical information. Meanwhile, opportunists saw profit in the chaos. Corporations lobbied governments for exclusive rights to develop the technology, sparking outrage among those who believed such advancements should benefit all of humanity. Ilara watched it all unfold with a mix of awe and dread. She had always dreamed of making groundbreaking discoveries, but she never imagined her work would spark such turmoil. Late at night, when the lab was empty and quiet, she often wondered if humanity was ready for this responsibility. Could they handle the implications of contact with an advanced civilization? Would they use the technology responsibly? Or would greed and selfishness ruin everything? Isaac shared her worries but reminded her of the bigger picture. "This isn't just about us," he said during one of their late-night conversations. "It's about proving that humanity can rise above its flaws. If we can show the universe that we're capable of cooperation and wisdom, maybe we'll earn their trust." Finally, after months of heated debate, the GRI reached a decision. They would proceed cautiously, constructing the device under strict supervision. To minimize risks, the project would take place on a remote island in the Pacific Ocean, far from populated areas. Security measures were tightened, and only a select group of scientists and engineers were granted access to the site. Construction began in secret, shielded from prying eyes by layers of confidentiality agreements and military-grade protection. As pieces of the machine took shape, anticipation grew palpable. Workers labored day and night, assembling components according to the alien blueprints. Each piece fit together perfectly, as though guided by an invisible hand. The precision of the design left everyone in awe. It was clear that whoever, or whatever, had sent the signal possessed a level of intelligence far surpassing anything humanity had achieved. Back in New Haven, Ilara and Isaac continued analyzing the signal for additional clues. They hoped to learn more about the sender before activating the device. Who were they? What did they want? And why had they chosen humanity as recipients of their message? Answers remained elusive, but every new discovery brought them closer to understanding. One evening, as Ilara reviewed data on her computer, she noticed something unusual. Hidden within the signal was another layer of information, a faint pulse that hadn't been detected before. When she isolated it, the pattern resembled coordinates. Could it be a location? A destination? Her heart raced as she realized the implications. Perhaps the device wasn't meant to stay on Earth. Maybe it was a key to unlocking communication or even travel with the senders. Excited by the possibility, Ilara shared her findings with Isaac. Together, they presented the new evidence to the GRI. The revelation sparked renewed urgency. If the device was indeed a gateway to first contact, humanity needed to prepare, not just technologically but emotionally and ethically. How would they greet beings whose existence defied imagination? What would they say? And most importantly, what impression would they leave? Construction of the device neared completion, and excitement turned to nervous anticipation. Every test run revealed new surprises. The machine hummed with energy unlike anything recorded before. Scientists marveled at its efficiency, yet unease lingered beneath the surface. Nobody knew exactly what would happen when the device was fully operational. Would it open a portal to another dimension, transmit a response back to the senders, or unleash unforeseen consequences? As the final stages approached, Ilara felt a strange mix of hope and fear. She thought about the generations of humans who had gazed at the stars, longing for connection. Now here she was, standing on the brink of history. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: humanity was about to step into uncharted territory. The countdown began. Cameras rolled, heartbeats quickened. The world held its breath, waiting to see if the universe would finally answer humanity's call. The day had arrived. The device stood at the center of the remote island, its sleek metallic surface glinting under the tropical sun. Scientists, engineers, and government officials gathered around it, their faces a mix of excitement and apprehension. After months of preparation, humanity was finally ready to activate the machine that promised answers, and perhaps even contact, with the mysterious beings who had sent the signal. Ilara Voss stood near the front of the crowd, her heart pounding, as she watched technicians make final adjustments. Isaac Chen stood beside her, clutching a notepad filled with notes and theories. Neither of them spoke. Words seemed unnecessary in this moment. At precisely noon, the countdown began. A hush fell over the group as numbers ticked down on a large digital display. 10, 9, 8. With each passing second, the tension grew thicker. When the timer hit 0, a low hum filled the air. It started softly but quickly grew louder, vibrating through the ground beneath their feet. Lights flickered along the device's surface, pulsating in rhythmic patterns that resembled a heartbeat. Then, without warning, the air shimmered. It was as though reality itself bent and twisted, creating a swirling vortex of light and energy. And then it appeared a figure materialized before them, not quite human, yet not entirely alien either. Its form defied description. It seemed to shift and change as if it existed simultaneously in multiple states. One moment it looked like a glowing silhouette. The next, it resembled a cluster of floating orbs connected by streams of light. Its presence radiated calmness, yet it commanded attention. Everyone present froze, unsure whether to step forward or retreat. "Greetings," the figure said, its voice resonating not just in their ears, but in their minds. There were no actual words, just thoughts and emotions conveyed directly into their consciousness. "We have watched you." Ilara gasped, overwhelmed by the sensation. She felt both exposed and understood, as if this being could see straight into her soul. Beside her, Isaac staggered slightly, gripping his notebook tightly. Others in the group reacted differently. Some clutched their chests, tears streaming down their faces, while others dropped to their knees in awe. The entity continued speaking, its tone gentle yet firm. "You are young, but your potential is immense," it said. "You stand at a crossroads. Choose wisely, for your actions will shape not only your future, but also the fate of countless others." The being identified itself as Etherian, representing a collective consciousness spanning multiple galaxies. It explained that they had observed humanity's struggles, achievements, and failures. Wars, innovations, acts of kindness, and moments of cruelty, all had been witnessed. Now, Etherian offered assistance, but only if humanity proved worthy. "What do you want from us?" Alara asked hesitantly, stepping forward despite her fear. Her voice trembled, but her determination shone through. "Change," Etherian replied simply. "Prove that you can transcend your limitations. Only then will we share our knowledge fully." With those cryptic words, the entity vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. The shimmering portal collapsed, leaving behind an eerie silence. For several moments, no one moved. They stared at the empty space where Etherian had stood, trying to process what had just happened. Was it real? Had they truly encountered an extraterrestrial intelligence? Or had they collectively imagined it? Gradually, murmurs broke out among the group. Questions flew back and forth. What did Etherian mean by change? How could humanity prove itself worthy? And what would happen if they failed? As scientists debated and speculated, Ilara turned to Isaac. His face was pale, but his eyes sparkled with determination. "We need to act," he said firmly. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about showing Etherian and ourselves that we're capable of growth." Word of the encounter spread rapidly. Within hours, news outlets around the world reported the event, sparking widespread reactions. While some celebrated the confirmation of intelligent life beyond Earth, others dismissed it as a hoax or mass hallucination. Conspiracy theories flourished online, with skeptics claiming the entire incident had been staged by governments or corporations. Religious groups interpreted Etherian's message as divine intervention, urging humanity to repent and reform. But, amidst the noise, a deeper conversation began to take root. People started reflecting on Etherian's challenge. What did it mean to prove worthy? Did it refer to technological advancements, moral progress, or something else entirely? Leaders from various fields weighed in, offering interpretations and solutions. Environmentalists argued that addressing climate change was key, while social activists emphasized the need to end inequality and injustice. Philosophers suggested that humanity must redefine its values, prioritizing cooperation over competition. Ilara became a central figure in these discussions. Using her newfound platform, she traveled the world, sharing her experience and advocating for unity. Alongside Isaac, she delivered speeches at universities, conferences, and community gatherings. Their message was simple, yet powerful. Humanity needed to come together to solve its shared problems. "We've spent centuries divided by borders, beliefs, and biases," Ilara told a packed auditorium in Geneva. "Now, we have a chance to rewrite our story. Let's show Etherian and ourselves that we're better than we think." Her words resonated deeply with many. Grassroots movements sprang up across the globe, driven by ordinary people determined to make a difference. In India, farmers adopted sustainable practices to combat soil degradation. In Brazil, volunteers worked tirelessly to protect rainforests from illegal logging. In Europe, citizens pushed for stricter regulations on carbon emissions. Even children joined the effort, organizing school strikes to demand action on climate change. Not everyone embraced the call for change, however. Resistance brewed in corners where power structures felt threatened. Corporations fought back against regulations limiting profits, arguing that economic growth should remain the top priority. Extremist groups denounced cooperation as betrayal, insisting that nations should focus on their own interests. Misinformation campaigns sought to sow discord, spreading false narratives about the risks of embracing Etherian's challenge. Violence erupted sporadically. Protests turned into clashes, as opposing sides clashed over how to respond. In some regions, governments cracked down harshly on dissent, arresting activists and censoring media coverage. Yet even in the face of adversity, hope persisted. Stories of resilience and innovation inspired millions to keep pushing forward. Meanwhile, the device remained operational, periodically transmitting updates from Etherian. Each report highlighted areas needing improvement, pushing humanity further toward self-reflection. One transmission focused on environmental destruction, showing images of polluted rivers, barren landscapes, and dying wildlife. Another addressed inequality, depicting stark contrasts between wealthy elites and impoverished communities. These messages served as reminders of humanity's flaws, but also its potential. Progress was uneven, but undeniable. Slowly, the planet began healing. Renewable energy projects accelerated, reducing reliance on fossil fuels. Poverty alleviation programs expanded, lifting millions out of destitution. Education systems reformed to foster critical thinking and empathy, equipping future generations to tackle challenges responsibly. Even space exploration flourished, driven by collaboration rather than competition. Humanity started working together in ways it never had before. Alara watched it all unfold with a mixture of pride and caution. She knew the journey was far from over. Etherian's challenge wasn't just about fixing external problems. It was about transforming humanity's mindset. Could people truly let go of greed, hatred, and fear? Could they embrace compassion, humility, and stewardship as guiding principles? One evening, as she stood on a hill overlooking New Haven, Ilara gazed at the stars. They seemed brighter now, almost as if they were cheering her on. She thought about Etherian's parting words. Choose wisely. Humanity had chosen to rise to the occasion, to strive for a better future. But the road ahead remained uncertain. Still, Ilara allowed herself a small smile. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't alone. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not just as individuals, but as a united species. And that, she realized, was the true beginning of their awakening. Years passed since Etherian's appearance, and humanity found itself in the midst of a profound transformation. The global awakening sparked by the alien entity had set off a chain reaction, forcing societies to confront their deepest flaws and aspirations. While progress was undeniable, the journey was anything but smooth. Every step forward brought new challenges, testing humanity's resolve and unity. Ilara Voss, now a household name, continued to play a pivotal role in guiding this monumental shift. She traveled tirelessly, speaking at conferences, visiting communities, and meeting with leaders to inspire action. Her message remained consistent. Humanity must rise above its divisions and work together for the greater good. Isaac Chen accompanied her on many of these trips, using his expertise in linguistics and philosophy to help interpret Etherian's messages and translate them into actionable goals. Together they became symbols of hope, reminding people that change, though difficult, was possible. But change didn't come easily. Resistance brewed in unexpected places. Corporations, accustomed to unchecked power and profit, pushed back fiercely against regulations aimed at reducing environmental harm. Lobbyists flooded legislative chambers, arguing that economic growth should take precedence over sustainability. In some cases, governments caved to corporate pressure, delaying crucial reforms. Environmental activists responded with protests. Strikes and lawsuits determined to hold those in power accountable. Violence flared sporadically as tensions escalated. In one particularly devastating incident, a protest outside a coal plant turned deadly when security forces clashed with demonstrators. Images of tear gas, burning barricades, and injured civilians circulated online, igniting outrage worldwide. Ilara watched the news from her hotel room, tears streaming down her face. "We can't let fear and anger destroy what we're trying to build," she whispered to herself. Determined to channel the tragedy into momentum, she issued a public statement urging calm and cooperation. "This is not about us versus them," she said. "It's about all of us working together to create a better world." Despite setbacks, grassroots movements gained strength. Ordinary people, Farmers, teachers, students, and workers rallied behind the cause, organizing cleanup drives, planting trees, and advocating for renewable energy. Social media played a crucial role, amplifying voices that might otherwise have gone unheard. Hashtags like SOIC Together for Change and One Planet, One Future trended globally, uniting millions under a common banner. Stories of resilience inspired others to join the fight. In Kenya, a young girl named Amina mobilized her village to build solar panels, bringing electricity to homes for the first time. In Canada, a group of teenagers developed an app to track carbon footprints, encouraging users to adopt eco-friendly habits. These small victories added up, creating ripples of positive change. Meanwhile, the device constructed according to Ethereum's blueprints continued operating, serving as both a beacon of hope and a constant reminder of humanity's unfinished mission. Periodic transmissions from Ethereum highlighted areas needing improvement, pushing humanity to dig deeper. One report focused on education, emphasizing the need to equip future generations with critical thinking skills and empathy. Another addressed healthcare disparities, urging nations to ensure access to medical care for everyone, regardless of wealth or geography. In response, governments launched ambitious initiatives. Schools introduced curricula centered around sustainability, ethics, and global citizenship. Free clinics sprang up in underserved areas offering vaccinations, checkups, and mental health support. Even space exploration programs shifted focus, prioritizing collaboration over competition. The International Space Agency, ISA, formed after decades of rivalry between national agencies, sent probes to study exoplanets and search for habitable worlds. Humanity began dreaming of interstellar travel, not as conquerors, but as explorers, seeking understanding. Yet even as external problems were addressed, internal struggles persisted. Old prejudices resurfaced, threatening to derail progress. Racial, religious, and cultural divides widened in certain regions, fueled by extremists who saw unity as a threat to their ideologies. Hate crimes increased in some cities, prompting calls for stricter laws and community outreach programs. Ilara often found herself mediating conflicts, urging people to look beyond differences and focus on shared humanity. "We are all part of the same story," she told a crowd during a Pausio at Tense rally in New York City. "Our strength lies in our diversity, not despite it." Her words resonated deeply, but they weren't enough to heal every wound. In parts of Africa and Asia, ethnic tensions erupted into violence, displacing thousands. Refugees fled war-torn regions only to face hostility in neighboring countries. Aid organizations worked tirelessly to provide shelter, food, and medical care, but resources were stretched thin. Ilara visited refugee camps whenever she could, listening to stories of loss and survival. She returned home each time more determined than ever to bridge gaps and foster compassion. Through it all, Ethereum remained silent, watching patiently as humanity navigated its trials. Some wondered if the entity would intervene again, offering guidance or reassurance. Others feared they might fail, losing their chance at redemption. Ilara refused to entertain such doubts. "Every challenge is an opportunity," she reminded herself and those around her. "We've already proven we can adapt. Now, we need to prove we can endure." Slowly but surely, progress emerged. Cities transformed into green hubs powered entirely by renewable energy. Public transportation systems expanded, reducing reliance on cars. Urban gardens sprouted on rooftops, providing fresh produce while improving air quality. Rivers once choked, with pollution ran clear again, teeming with fish and wildlife. Forests reclaimed barren lands thanks to reforestation efforts led by volunteers. The planet began healing, breathing easier after centuries of neglect. Social changes followed suit. Poverty rates dropped significantly as universal basic income programs took effect. Education became accessible to all, breaking cycles of disadvantage. Healthcare improved dramatically, with breakthroughs in medicine curing diseases once deemed incurable. Crime rates fell as communities embraced restorative justice practices, focusing on rehabilitation rather than punishment. People started seeing themselves as part of a larger whole, connected not just by geography but by shared values and purpose. Even technology evolved responsibly. Artificial intelligence, once feared as a tool of oppression, was harnessed to solve complex problems. Robots assisted farmers, doctors, and engineers, freeing humans to pursue creative endeavors. Virtual reality platforms allowed people to experience life from another's perspective, fostering empathy and understanding. Innovations in communication bridged language barriers, enabling seamless interaction across cultures. Decades after Ethereum's arrival, humanity stood transformed. Gone were the days of reckless exploitation and endless conflict. In their place rose a society built on cooperation, innovation, and stewardship. Stars twinkled brighter in the night sky, no longer obscured by smog or light pollution. Children grew up learning about Earth's fragility and humanity's responsibility to protect it. Dreams of exploring the cosmos replaced fears of invasion or destruction. Alara, now elderly but content, reflected on the journey. Sitting on her porch in New Haven, she gazed at the stars, feeling a sense of fulfillment she hadn't known was possible. Beside her, Isaac chuckled softly. "Remember when we thought this was impossible?" he asked, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "I never doubted we could do it," Alara replied with a smile. "Not really." Isaac raised an eyebrow. "Oh, come on, you were terrified half the time." She laughed, nodding. "Maybe, but fear doesn't stop you from moving forward. It just reminds you how much is at stake." As silence settled between them, Ilara felt a deep sense of gratitude for the challenges, the victories, and the lessons learned along the way. Humanity had risen to meet Ethereum's challenge, proving that it was capable of greatness. And though the road ahead remained uncertain, she knew one thing for sure. They were ready to step boldly into the cosmos, ready to embrace whatever came next, ready to show the universe and themselves that they were worthy. Decades had passed since humanity first encountered Ethereum, and the world was unrecognizable from what it once was. The planet Earth, once scarred by pollution, war, and inequality, now thrived as a beacon of unity and progress. Cities shimmered with green energy, powered entirely by renewable sources like solar, wind, and advanced fusion reactors based on principles learned from Ethereum's designs. Skyscrapers were draped in vertical gardens, while rivers flowed, clean and clear, teeming with life. The air smelled fresh again, free from the choking smog that had plagued earlier generations. Humanity had grown wiser too. Education systems now emphasized empathy, critical thinking, and global citizenship, preparing young minds to tackle challenges with creativity and compassion. Healthcare had become universal, curing diseases once thought incurable and extending lifespans dramatically. Poverty, though not entirely eradicated, had been reduced to negligible levels thanks to equitable economic policies and technological advancements. Even space exploration flourished, driven by collaboration rather than competition. Humanity wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. One evening, as Ilara Voss sat on her porch overlooking the rolling hills of New Haven, she felt a profound sense of peace. Now in her late 80s, she looked back on her life with pride. What had started as a quiet scientific pursuit in a small lab had blossomed into a global movement that transformed humanity itself. Beside her, Isaac Chen, his hair silver but his spirit as sharp as ever, smiled warmly. "Do you think we did enough?" Ilara asked softly, breaking the silence. Her voice carried a hint of nostalgia, tinged with lingering doubt. Isaac chuckled. "Enough? We rebuilt an entire planet, Ilara. I'd say that's more than enough." She nodded slowly but didn't respond. Deep down, she knew he was right. Still, there was always room for improvement. That was the lesson Ethereum had taught them, to keep striving no matter how far they'd come. The device, now housed in a museum-like structure at the heart of New Haven, continued operating silently. It served as both a symbol of humanity's potential and a reminder of its responsibilities. Periodic transmissions from Ethereum still arrived, each one filled with encouragement and guidance. These messages pushed humanity further, urging them to explore new frontiers, not just in space but within themselves. Then, one fateful night, everything changed. Etherian returned. The sky above New Haven lit up with an ethereal glow, brighter than any aurora borealis. People emerged from their homes, gazing upward in awe. At first they thought it was another meteor shower or perhaps a rare celestial event. But then, the shimmering figure appeared, a being neither human nor alien, yet somehow both. Etherian's presence radiated warmth and approval, filling everyone with a sense of calm certainty. "You have done well," Etherian said, its voice resonating directly into their minds. "Your growth proves you are ready." Cheers erupted across the globe as news of Etherian's reappearance spread instantly. This time, however, the reaction was different. There was no fear, no skepticism, no division. Humanity greeted Etherian as an ally, a mentor, and a friend. Decades of hard work and sacrifice had prepared them for this moment. True to its promise, Etherian unlocked access to knowledge and technology beyond anything humanity had imagined. Starships capable of faster-than-light travel, medical breakthroughs, curing genetic disorders, methods to terraform barren planets. All these gifts elevated humanity to new heights. More importantly, they reinforced lessons learned: humility, compassion, and stewardship. Alara stood among the crowd gathered near the device, tears streaming down her face. She watched as holographic projections displayed blueprints for interstellar engines, diagrams of sustainable habitats, and algorithms for artificial intelligence designed to assist, rather than dominate. Each revelation sparked excitement and wonder, but also gratitude. Humanity had earned this trust through perseverance and cooperation. As Etherian shared its wisdom, it addressed humanity directly. "You are no longer children, you are partners in creation. Use what we give you wisely, for the universe is vast and interconnected. Your actions ripple across galaxies." Its words struck a chord deep within every listener. For centuries, humanity had feared the unknown, assuming hostility from any extraterrestrial encounter. Now they realized that the cosmos wasn't a battleground. It was a community waiting to be joined, and humanity had finally proven itself worthy of membership. In the weeks that followed, preparations began for humanity's first interstellar voyage. Engineers worked tirelessly to construct starships based on Etherian's designs, while diplomats drafted agreements ensuring peaceful cooperation among nations. Scientists studied data about nearby exoplanets, searching for habitable worlds where humans could establish colonies. Artists created murals and sculptures celebrating this historic milestone, capturing the hope and determination of an entire species. Alara played a key role in planning the expedition. Though her body was frail, her mind remained sharp, and her insights guided decision-making at every level. She insisted that the mission focused not just on exploration, but also on diplomacy. "We're entering someone else's home," she reminded everyone. "Let's make sure we're good guests." Finally, the day of departure arrived. Thousands gathered at the launch site, cheering as the sleek starship rose into the sky, leaving Earth's atmosphere behind. On board were astronauts representing every continent, chosen not just for their skills but for their ability to embody humanity's newfound values. Among them was Amina, the Kenyan girl who had inspired millions with her solar panel project years ago. Now grown, she served as the mission's lead engineer, symbolizing how far humanity had come. As the starship disappeared into the stars, Alara stood beside Isaac, watching until the craft became nothing more than a speck of light. Tears streamed down her face, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of joy. Humanity had stepped boldly into the cosmos, not as conquerors, but as stewards of creation. That night, Alara returned to her porch one last time. The stars twinkled brightly above, infinite possibilities stretching before her. She thought about all the people who had dreamed of this moment, the scientists, philosophers, activists, and ordinary citizens whose collective efforts had made it possible. She thought about those who wouldn't live to see humanity's future adventures, but whose legacies would endure forever. Beside her, Isaac placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. You should be proud, Alara. None of this would have happened without you. She shook her head gently. It wasn't me. It was all of us. Together. Her voice trailed off as sleep overtook her. When morning came, Alara was gone, passing. Peacefully in her sleep. News of her death spread quickly, sparking tributes worldwide. Flags flew at half-mast, speeches honored her contributions, and memorials were erected in her name. Yet, even in death, her legacy lived on. She had helped humanity find its place among the stars. Years later, as humanity established colonies on distant planets and forged alliances with other civilizations, they never forgot the lessons of their past. They remembered the silent years when they wondered if they were alone. They remembered the trials of transformation, when they proved they could rise above their flaws. And they remembered Ilara Voss, the woman who dared to believe in a better future. Above all, they remembered Etherian's final message. You are part of something greater than yourselves. Cherish it. And so, under endless skies, humanity embarked on its next chapter, not as wanderers but as builders of a brighter tomorrow.